Hello loves, Roisin here. I wanted to jump on and speak into the next archetype for our dance, which is next week, next Sunday. We'll be exploring the magical archetypes, the magician, shaman, shamaness, the witch, the priestess, the capability within us all to alchemize. It's a powerful and necessary archetype for healing, but also for believing in ourselves, for creating anything that we choose. It's an archetype and an energetic, this magic, this alchemy, this transformation that has been suppressed. You know, the witch wound has been talked about a lot in our culture, especially in England, with the witch hunt and this continued, though liberating, capability of woman, but not just woman. And really, this thread exists within us in terms of our repressed psyche, in terms of the parts in us that we suppress for whatever reason, whether through historical, familial, whether through our own stories or belief systems. You know, it's the magical capabilities within all of us that we suppress. So it's our ability to transform the darkness to the light. Magician, priestess, witch, they're big terms. However, transformation, growth, overcoming our own obstacles is all tied in within this magical realm. And really this brings me to the key aspect of this archetype, which is belief. We have to believe in ourselves to make the changes. We have to believe we're worthy. We have to stand in our power. And this is where we see the other archetypes come into play. So this dance series, this Sovereign Being dance series, is about maturing our own inner king and queen. And these archetypes, whether we're in a male or female body, encompass the warrior, the magician or priestess, the magical energy, the mother and father, that nurturance of self, the lover, and the sovereign, king, queen, the leadership. And we can see how these work together. The magician or the witch, they need the power of the warrior to stand true in their beliefs, in their conviction, in their power. They need the warrior to stand in their power. That, this is what I have to offer. This is what I can do. This is what I bring to the world. We are all magical beings, but having that belief in self and the nurturance of the innocence of the child. A child is full of wonder. When did we lose that wonder? The lover to love those parts of ourselves that we repress somehow, the magic and the power. And this brings me to the shadow. All these archetypes, we want to, bring them into balance, bring them into their full maturity. But the shadow aspects are those parts that are lurking and holding us back. And shadow is tricky because it's the parts that we can't see, right? We often can't see our own shadow. And the thing about the magician or the witch is, there's an ability to solve problems, an ability to be in this transcendental, intuitive state that's connected to the heart, that's connected to all. And so for that reason, there has to be a sensitivity. And so if this magician, witch, priestess energy shaman is overemphasized, then there can be a propensity to want to protect, to isolate. We can become too sensitive or actually too egoic, thinking that we know it all, almost like that, the spiritual ego. There can be a propensity to become ungrounded, to not be in the body. And then, of course, there's the underexpressed elements of this archetype, also in shadow. When we are disconnected from our own intuition, disconnected from our heart, we only trust what we're told. We follow orders blindly. We don't listen to that quieter voice, to that connection to spirit that is always guiding us. And deeper still, when I talk about the witch wound, and for men and women in this capacity for magic and for the bigger cosmic connection, and this repression of our psyche that has happened through time for whatever reason, let's not get into it now. Even as children, we can use our magical powers, the magician energy, the witch energy, to protect ourselves. We can learn to dissociate, to become numb, to disconnect from the body because it's too much, that sensitivity to feel all the energies. We can become dismissive or people pleaser. We can learn, to disconnect in some way. And this disconnection can mean that we're not really connected to anything, let's say. We're not fully committing to anything because it feels too much. At some point, maybe we didn't get what we wanted. So we make no choices because then we're never going to be disappointed, right? It's the part in us that knows that we're capable but has shut down our magic somehow. You know, in childhood, we can ask for something and be refused, or ask Father Christmas for something and it doesn't come. These things are like tiny, tiny little traumas, and we can use our magical energy to disconnect from that desire, to disconnect from the manifestation or this belief in ourselves. So it goes deep, deep, deep into the psyche. The priestess, which I believe is the higher octave of the witch, is like the head witch, let's say. And for me, because I work with sexual energy or the erotic energy, it's very embodied. And in my understanding, having been used my magical energy to disconnect for so long, I had a propensity for the more, let's say, esoteric or etheric realms, the finer, lighter, out there. And so coming into the body was my journey, and now it's that ability to alchemize through the body, to stay centered in myself, to not give in to too much empathy or too much sensitivity with people who, I don't need to do that with. The high priestess is certainly, in a tantric perspective, uses the erotic energy. So the magical realms requires us to open, to be a channel. And this requires a certain level of disconnect from the ego, from the self. But in order to really land that, we need the embodiment. And the erotic life force, creative sexual life force, gives fire to that. It's almost like the masculine and feminine meeting. The fluidity of the feminine, the openness, the receptivity, and the fire to seed and to create. We can also think of the fire as the masculine, the shaman and the fire and the magic wand and so on. And for the high priestess, it's the water, it's the well, it's the emotional realm. So there's so much within there. But ultimately, it's our ability to transform, to believe in ourselves, whatever we want, to listen, deeply listen to the whispers of our soul, to the whispers of spirit that is always guiding us, and create what we choose, because we really can. This is sovereignty also, stepping outside of, what the powers that be should tell us, and believing that we can create life as we choose. I hope that you will come and dance. It's going to be potent. With so much love, always.